Hello, everybody, and welcome to the North American Star League Season number 2. Today's going to be Week 4, Division 2, and I'm going to be your host, Andre Greator Pengshua. Joined alongside me, you might know him, he's a little bit familiar, is Jake Orbs-Glarou. Jake, how you doing, man?
I'm doing excellently.
Dude,
how are you, man?
I am so glad that you are here. Of course, we've been friends since Brood War.
Oh, of course.
Starcraft Brood War.
Of course, man.
It's been forever, man, and it's so glad that we can come over here from the East Coast, join our forces together, and become one here at the NASL.
That's what it is, man. That's what it is.
But you know what? For a lot of, well, not a lot of people, excuse me. For those of them that don't know who you are, why don't you tell everybody who you are, a little about yourself, things like that.
Sure. My name is Orb, or Jake, I suppose, but go by Orb. On the internet, of course, you know, streamed back in beta, but I've been getting a lot more into casting, so, you know, hopefully it's been going well, and I'm assuming it's been going well since I'm back, man. I hope so.
It has been going well.
Thank you,
Everybody
sir.
loves you. I love you. How could
I love you too, sir.
You're such a handsome man.
It's a bromance right here, man.
It is. Nevertheless, we have an exciting day coming ahead of you. A lot of epic matches. We have 4 matches for today, and let's go ahead and list them off right now. So we have Huck versus HeyPro as our match number 1. Match number 2 is Rain versus Braddock. Match number 3 is going to be Dark Force versus Mana. And match number 4 is going to be Cloud versus Axlav. Quite an exciting lineup coming in today. But before we go into all of that, I do want to get into the maps. So let's take a look at the maps that we have for today. All right, the maps are in order: Metalopolis, Antigua Shipyard, and Terminus SE. Gotta love these map sets, dude. I mean, all of these are macro maps, I would say. Especially, you know, the new one coming into this would probably be Antigua Shipyard.
Yeah, of course. Antigua Shipyard, probably one of the most standard maps of the Season 3 ladder maps. Really cool. You know, the main laid out in a pretty simple way. No extra entrances into the natural. So, yeah, pretty darn good macro map with an easy third to take. So.
And it goes along with the other 2 maps, of course, Metalopolis. We've already seen that countless times, not just in NASL, but in other actually every single tournament possible.
Pretty much.
And then our last map, Terminus, we've seen that countless times, of course. Originally introduced into the GSL, and it's just really taken shape, really taken form, and people are loving it. Macro maps
Absolutely.
are, yeah, I feel like macro maps are just the best way to differentiate skill.
They
just
are.
because you get into those longer matches, and the longer you go into it, the more the more hectic it gets, you know, the more multitask oriented it gets.
Absolutely. Well, you know, the great thing about macro maps is that unlike, you know, maybe rush-based maps, you can still do rushes on macro-based maps.
yeah.
There's nothing that prevents you from, you know, exploiting a timing that you see available in your opponent's build, something like that. Or if you see like a, you know, messed up Forge wall off as a Zerg player, can go for a Baneling bust, things like that. You can still do that kind of stuff. It's just a little bit easier on the defender's side to actually be able to play a, you know, legitimate macro game where you can get to that, you know, 20-minute mark or so and onwards from there.
Yeah, the one thing I love about macro maps is that, as you said, the rushes work, but they have the ability to always be stopped if you are due diligent, getting that scouting in, things like that. But you know, you will be punished if you don't scout at all. Of course, you're going to be in every situation. That's the kind of dynamic that I really love to see. That's what NASL brings to the table, and I'm really, really happy about that. Let's go ahead and get into the individual matchups, starting with the last one, which is going to be Cloud versus Axel. So Cloud from Team Alternate Attacks. He did recently switch, and you know what? He's been looking really good. Recently switched up his style a little bit. He is Terran, of course, for all you players that don't know at home, and he's been all-inning a lot. And let's talk a little bit about this. I know, you know, Cloud is a separate player and everything, but let's talk a little bit about a player like Idra, like, you know, any of those hard macro players like Rhett. And then all of a sudden they start introducing cheese into their builds, they become much stronger.
Absolutely. You really have to have that aggression built into your play, especially not, perhaps, maybe not on every build, maybe not on every game, but you have to have that opportunity available to you. If you have that kind of strategy where you just do the same thing every game, you become very predictable in a professional sense, and people can just counter you blindly. So it's very important to have that that broadened play style, be able to you know, go for the rushes and the macro.
Exactly. And you know what? You can be the problem is if you become predictable, you can be countered a number of ways. You can be countered with units, material units, or you can be countered with like economy. So I know you're going to fast expansion. Well, I'm going to take 2 expansions on you, and all of a sudden you're behind, and now you have a much broader range of opposing builds to be going up against. And it makes it a lot harder to actually hone your skills and be able to direct all your efforts into one individual area. It makes you a lot less efficient in the long run. So I love that Cloud is introducing this type of all-in, well, here and there, but he's adding it into there, just making it so his opponents are going to be very wary of doing those risky builds. He's going to be going up against Axlav now. Axlav, probably one of the more famous Protosses from North American server.
Yeah, he is on Team EG, and if I understand correctly, is one of the lower APM players. Plays very decision-based. So, it'll be interesting to see if he'll have that control to be able to go up against maybe some possible all-ins from Cloud.
Exactly. Axlav not doing the best in Season 2. His Season 1 run was respectable, to say the least. It was definitely it was just in the middle of the pack. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. But, he really needs to start pulling himself away from the lower pack, because if he goes like this over and over again, I don't know if he can get back into this. I don't know if he will be able to requalify for season number 3. I know it's only week number 4, but you have to start early. You can't be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna wait until halfway done. Hey, after week 4, it's already halfway done. They're already going to be in a lot of trouble.
Got to make some progress, man.
Exactly. You got to make it.
I mean, he's training in the EG house, so, I got high hopes for anyone in that kind of a situation. Even if you don't start out as the best player, in that type of a situation where you have a lot of other people that are also really interested in the same game, same style of strategies, and you can practice with them all the time, it's an invaluable resource to have. So definitely looking for some, invigorating new play from him.
Definitely. Well, I'm looking forward to that match. Our match number 3 is going to be Dark Force from, again, Alternate Attacks, going up against Mana from Team Mouse. I think Dark Force, well, first let's talk about him a little bit. He's probably considered the more macro-oriented style, and only macro-oriented style. I don't think I've ever seen him cheese before in my entire life.
Definitely one of those guys, the examples you were mentioning, Red Idra likes to make a lot of drones,
Exactly.
more so even than, Idra, I feel, has been playing a little more safe lately, but, Red, definitely one of those other players like that, just make a million drones, get an insane economy up. As long as you have very, very careful scouting, you can get away with it. You just have to make sure that you don't fall prey to anything that you haven't seen, because obviously something like, proxy double Stargate or proxy DT attack, that kind of stuff can really catch you off guard if you're over droning. So,
for sure. And you know what? Mana is definitely a player that has the capacity to play, knowing his opponent's style, just getting that efficiency out. And that's what I love about players these days. They're really just curtailing themselves to their opponents. They say, oh, my opponent is sort of most likely going to do this, or probabilistically going to do this. I'm going to do the counter. I'm going to get these small advantages, let's say, and before any battles actually start. And that's what's so cool about it. It's all about preparation now, rather than in the midst of things, I'm getting this. I see Marauders, so I have to get Immortals or something like that. Something crazy. They're not hard countering. They're not doing it at the thick of the battle. They're instead saying, okay, let me analyze my opponent. Go ahead and make my assumptions beforehand. Before I even get into the battle, that way I'm prepared. I know what's coming, and I'm going to take out my opponent, which is so awesome. Something great that I think not enough leagues have. Just that preparation, the 1 week preparation for each individual map. So we'll see what comes of that. Match number 2 is going to be Rain versus Braddock. Now this is going to be sick.
That's
a great TVT.
insane.
I think this might be the marquee matchup of this entire division play today.
It could be absolutely phenomenal. I mean, these are both really, really good Terran players. So,
Yeah.
I mean, anything could happen in that match. I'm super excited to see what they're going to come out with.
Rain from Team Fnatic MSI just recently finished, I believe, 4th in the recent DreamHack Invitationals. Made a great run. He's been playing awesome. He's also been doing fantastically in all the MLGs. Every single one he goes into, he places very high, immediately goes into the group stages. What more can you say about him? He's just so deadly. And he's going up against a player that is Braddock, which, he's that Russian wild card, I almost want to say. And I say he's a wild card because not many people have seen him in tournaments.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's hard to find games of him a little bit
Exactly.
nowadays. Obviously you could see him a little bit more back in Brood War, but so I mean, maybe you could try to compare his styles in Brood War to Starcraft 2.
Exactly. And you know what? I see such interesting styles coming out of, I want to say, the Russian scene as well. You know, just that overall. And it's just a very brute force method. And I don't know how else to explain it. It's just like, it's up in your face. But at the same time, it's just like overall strength in your entire build and in your entire strategy. I can't explain it well, but it's basically, it's not counterable. I don't think it's counterable. It's just like you have to go punch or punch. It's hard to sidestep what Braddock does. I mean, we saw him play against Mana, for instance, and Mana had High Templars out, and all Braddock had was Marine Marauder Medivacs. And he just out-microed the High Templars.
Yeah, man. Same thing happened, like
whatever, man.
I remember hearing the argument between Brood War and StarCraft 2, like about, dropships would get picked off by Scourge. So in TVZ, in theory, you're never going to be able to get a drop-off. But obviously that's not how it works. You force your opponent to make mistakes.
Correct.
You force things to happen. It's like that brute force method you were talking about. And even if you're doing a strategy that might be countered by your opponent, you can still do certain things to make it be a little bit more effective.
Yeah, and that's what Braddock does, and we've already seen his micro do so well. His macro is awesome. I can't wait to see what we have from these two players going off in a Terran versus Terran. Last but not least, actually, the first match that we're going to be seeing today is going to be Huck from Evil Genius going up against Hey Pro from Team Liquid. This is going to be sick. The battle of the ex-teammates.
Yeah, I mean, they both used to... Well, of course, Hey Pro's still on Team Liquid. Huck used to be on Liquid, and not to be favoritist, but I'm a huge Huck fanboy, man.
Yeah.
I love Huck. I'm a big fan of Hey Pro as well, though. So maybe he'll be able to pull something out here, but I don't know, man.
Yeah, I think Huck is definitely the favorite going into this.
Absolutely.
It's probably unquestionable. Huck is, been training in Korea for a long time. Hey Pro has been training in Korea, but then he moved out to, I believe, the Pro Team House in Sweden. And he's been training there. But still, I just feel like the quality of games for Huck is just so much better that he will have an advantage in this round. But, you never know what can happen.
Never know.
I really feel it can go either way. But I do know both these players are very dear friends, and I think it's going to be tough for both of them, win or lose. It's going to be tough for them just because emotions probably will be running high in this match. Nevertheless, I can't wait to get into these. A huge thanks first to our sponsors, Azo Monitors. They're our monitor sponsor company. Also, iBuyPower Computer. iBuyPower is our computer company. Without Azo Monitors and iBuyPower Computers, NASL would not be possible. We're running everything off of those, so please go check them out, along with Kingston HyperX, which is sponsoring our show matches, our matches to remember. So definitely stay tuned for those throughout the entire season. Also, a special thanks to everybody at home that have followed us and are really giving us your criticism and your feedback. You can do so at support@nasl.tv. That's where you can email us and tell us what you think, what you like, what you don't like, what you think is okay. We want to know everything that you guys are thinking, because again, this is a community project. We always get people that assist in the community and really help out esports, and I hope you guys out there will help us out so that we can just grow and be the best possible product we can be. On top of that, if you guys are interested, go ahead and go to www.nasl.tv and check out the HD passes over there. It'll entitle to HD quality on top of a commercial-less stream and VOD access, so please go check that out. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at NASL.TV for both of those. Anyway, that being said, Orb, let's get into the games right now.
Let's do it.
I'm so excited. Huck versus Hey Pro.